Hello and welcome to this Vivado Quick Take video, IP Integrator Advanced User Tips. This video is intended for someone already familiar with and who has already used IP Integrator. In this video we will review IP Integrator features you may not know about. Some of these features have recently been added in Vivado 2013.3 and 2013.4. We'll talk about options for automatically zooming and making selections, searching for objects in a diagram, creating levels of hierarchy, adding comments to a diagram, using the layers and changing default colors on interfaces, and lastly, how to turn any design into a tickle script with write BD-tickle. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the design that I'm currently working on. Let's start by validating this design. Looks like I have one error message. If you go down here into the messages window, you'll see that there's a hyperlink. I can click on the hyperlink and that will cross-probe me to the actual error. If you look real carefully, you can see that this pin over here is being highlighted. It's kind of hard to tell exactly where in the diagram that pin is because it's so small. What I like to do is there's a capability called auto fit selection, which will automatically zoom to fit on selected objects. I like to leave that mode on so that then when I come down here and I click on the hyperlink, it automatically zooms to the selected object, and it's very easy to figure out exactly where that object is. Okay, so let's connect this clock that isn't connected. You could connect this clock by clicking on it and dragging the net, but an alternative way is to select the pin either here or over here in the design hierarchy, and you can right click make connection, and this brings up a dialog which shows connections that are valid. So I want to connect it up to the A clock port over here and click OK, and it'll automatically make that connection for me. So that's just an alternative way to make connections as opposed to using your mouse and dragging and dropping the different connections. Let's pull up the world view over here. So this gives us context for where we are within the entire diagram, so you can see where in the diagram we currently are. So right now I'm actually looking for a block called the gamma block, and I'm not exactly sure where in the diagram this is. So I can either press Control F or I can right click search and a dialog comes up. I want to look for the gamma block, and it turns out that there's one interface and here is the gamma block, and using the world view I can tell exactly where in the diagram that gamma block is. Let's close the world view here. By default, the operation taking your mouse and dragging from the upper left to the bottom right is a zoom area operation, which is very useful. But sometimes I want to actually select different things in a certain area. So there is the select area tool, so I can turn on that mode and then I make that same motion and select this, and then I get to select, I could select nets, interfaces, connections, blocks, pins. So in this case what I really want to do is I just want to select all these blocks that were in the area that I selected. So that's a quick way to select these three blocks. I want to select the rest of the blocks one at a time here that are part of my video pipeline. So I selected all these blocks, and now what I want to do is I want to group these together and create a level of hierarchy. So I can right click, create hierarchy, give the hierarchy a name, regenerate the layout here, and then expand the diagram, and then rezoom. So this is a very powerful capability. There's a lot of tools that don't have the ability to have these multiple levels of hierarchy, and you're not just limited to one level of hierarchy. You could have multiple levels of hierarchy inside of other levels of hierarchy, and this hierarchy is preserved all the way through the design generation when HDL is generated for this design. You'll notice that when you select a net, you click on the net once and that highlights the net. You may not know that when you click on a net, you double click on the net, it actually selects it through hierarchy. So this is another very useful capability. So you can select the net, you click on it once and it selects the net, you double click on it and it selects it through hierarchy. So here's our design again with the hierarchy collapsed. When building a diagram like this, it's often very useful to add comments to a diagram. So here I can create a comment and I can add something descriptive about this design. And then you can change different characteristics. For example, I could increase the size a little bit. And this is just, so this is a free floating comment. I also have the ability to take a particular block and highlight it, right click, and then create the comment. And now this is my microprocessor. And now if I try to move this comment, you'll notice it's actually associated with a particular block. So that's also very useful if you want to have some comments that are associated to blocks and then other comments that are free floating. If you do want to make a connection or an association between these, you can select both the comment and the block. You can right click and then you can say associate comment, and now this comment is actually associated with that block. So it's also a very useful capability. So I also like using over here, there's a slide out where we actually can control the different layers. So if I zoom for the whole diagram here, I can actually turn off all the clock nets, for example, if I'm not interested in seeing those right now, or maybe I don't want to see the reset nets right now. So this is useful in that now I can see I'm only looking at the interfaces, so I can kind of strip away different types of nets that I'm not interested in seeing right now. If right now what I'm most interested in is the interfaces. If I also want to make certain interfaces stand out, on the colors tab here I could, so for example on the AXI4 light connection, maybe I really want to make those stand out, I could switch those from the default color of blue, I could change those to purple so that now those nets stand out more. So now all AXI4 light connections anywhere in this diagram will be purple as opposed to the default color. And then at any point I can go up here to the reset option and I can reset all the layers and the colors back to the factory defaults if that's what I want. The last thing I'd like to mention in this video is the write BD tickle function. So what that does is it takes the diagram as it is right now and writes out a tickle script to recreate it exactly in this state. So I can go to the tickle console, write _BD _tickle, and then I can give it a path. So I'll put it here in my home directory, and I'll call it my _design.tickle. So this will write out a tickle file that exactly represents our diagram the way we have it. So now I could use this tickle script, I could store it in a revision control system, I could email it to a coworker, or I could use this to recreate a current diagram. So hopefully you picked up some little tips and tricks using Vivado IP Integrator and get to see some of the new functionality that's been added recently to Vivado IP Integrator. Thank you for watching this Vivado Quick Take video.